I'm Scott Allen Miller, the Everyday Vlogger, and today I'm going to tell you why I am super excited about the new release announcement of the GoPro Hero 13. As many of you know, I use GoPro as a regular part of my vlogging, and I'm here in beautiful downtown Buenos Aires, Argentina, where I'm filming for my regular travel and relocation vlog. And they just announced the GoPro 13. I want to run down with you guys the highlights here because I think this is a really big release. This is a big deal, even though the sensor is the same, the GP2 processor hasn't changed. But I think for vloggers like me, this is a major release that's going to make a big difference, and I am certainly going to be ordering one soon. So I want to run down what in the list is exciting for me and makes a big difference in what I'm going to be doing. This is a quick and dirty video. I don't have a lot of time. I'm traveling. I'm in the middle of doing shoots for another vlog, but the release was this morning, and I want to get you guys this information so you have something to work from when you're looking at, is this something that makes sense for you? Should you wait for it? Whatever. So, okay, so the GoPro 13, it's not out yet. I don't have one. I'm on the 12. The 13 is going to be, before anything, it has a change of battery. So if you are on the GoPro ecosystem, you have loads of batteries, you can't use those batteries with the new one. For some people, that is a major financial investment. So just be aware, this is a upgrade in that area, and that will impact you. Your other accessories generally are going to keep working. Not everything, but generally your mounts and all that stuff, no problem. But your batteries, that's a big deal. But it's also an upgrade, so keep it in mind. Second thing I want to mention is the media kit. This isn't really mentioned anywhere. It uses the same media kit that we've been using for generations, the one I'm on now. So if you want to keep using your media kit, you already have one or two like me, then you're good to go. Just keep that and move it over to your new camera. Okay, the first big deal is, okay, so this is not a big deal. The first kind of cool thing is they detect what lens mod you have on. So as you put on different lens mods, it knows what to do. I like that a lot. That's really cool, but it's a really minor feature. I would certainly not pay for that. But they've got a lot of new lenses that make this make more sense, including like ND filters, which I don't use. I'm never looking for motion blur. As a vlogger, I want everything crisp in every frame. I like the way it looks, and I like what it allows my audience to see. But for a lot of people who are doing like cinematic work, you're putting it into a film, you may need ND filters on the regular. So totally a cool thing. You could get third-party ones before. Now you can get them from GoPro with detection, so it knows how to behave given the filter that you have. The big deal is the macro lens. This allows close focusing and focus adjustment. We've never had anything like this on the GoPro before. So this is a big deal for people who are looking to do just a lot more interesting stuff with the GoPro. I think a lot of people have been kind of like hinting or wondering if this is something they could get. And importantly, and they really don't mention this much, in the distance that like I'm talking to you now, this is within the focus distance. The focus distance goes to more around here. It's not a meter, but it's a good 3/4 of a meter. So that is something that people who are doing vlogging really might want to consider. You're going to have a lot more attention to detail necessary when doing vlogging, but you've got focus peaking that they've added. We haven't seen how that works yet, but focus peaking with manual focus on the GoPro for a macro means that things like this, the vlogging, you could get me in focus instead of the background. A lot of vloggers are looking for this, especially if you're mounting to like a bike or a helmet or something where it's really stable and you can focus in really carefully. Here, I can move around a little bit and it may cause problems. So that's huge. Going to be getting that for sure. A lot of the good features on the GoPro 13, they're paid add-ons. So be aware, if you're looking at like, oh, every one of these features sounds amazing to me, you may be looking at a pretty hefty investment here. The camera itself, listing at $400, but all the extra things, you're looking at much closer to $1,000 to have all this stuff. So just keep that in mind, that you need to price out all these features individually to see if they make sense for you. And not all of them are going to be released immediately. And obviously the camera's not out yet itself. Okay, second thing is the anamorphic lens adapter. So this gives you a 21:9 super ultra wide compressed with the awesome lens flares and stuff. This is generally for people who are doing more, again, cinematic style work. But if you're looking for completely different shooting styles, you're looking for a different look, you want to do something really interesting, this could be just a lot of fun to play with. But a lot of people, I think, could find some real shooting value from it as well. And especially, GoPro is used for a lot of commercial filming, so I think we're seeing a little bit of GoPro themselves recognizing how high-end industry is starting to use their cameras more and more due to the incredible sensor and imaging technology. So this seems to be an extension of that. Probably not for the average user, but if you use a GoPro as much as I do, you're going to find some uses for that, I bet. The batteries, I'm just going down the list as they presented the items. The batteries are a bigger, I believe, 1900 milliamp hours. So these are larger batteries. They're saying up to 2.5 hours runtime. You're not going to get 2.5 hours. But if you're like me and someone who, I do a lot of outdoor vlogging, a lot of long form vlogging, as you can tell from all my videos, I run through batteries like you would not believe. On a normal day where I'm going out and just walking, I just park my car, go walking with a camera, I'm going to take 3 batteries with me, plus I may charge in the car or whatever. This is enough that I'll be able to go down to just 1 spare battery and I'll be good to go in almost certainly. So that's a big deal. Always battery upgrades matter, but this is going to be a big cost for people who are reinvesting into GoPro. If you don't have one yet, it's your first GoPro, then this is just a great feature for you. Now, another add-on, magnetic door charging. They have an upgraded door. This is like, I think, pretty close to $100. But you get a magnetic outside door. So it just replaces the regular waterproof door on the GoPro, and it has a magnetic attachment on the outside, and then it comes with a bunch of cables and adapters, and you can just plug into USB-C power, same as you normally would, but instead of having to open the door on the GoPro, plug in a USB-C, which honestly does wear out the GoPro over time, you can just slap a magnet on the outside and charge that way. It remains waterproof. Obviously, don't charge it underwater, but you can... you don't have to do anything to expose your camera while you're charging. You can run it without a battery and just have that from the outside. It's pretty nice. And for people like me who are just constantly plugging and unplugging your GoPros, that's a pretty cool feature. But it doesn't work with the media mod. So if you're like me and use the media mod every single day, this may not be a feature that matters for you. But for a lot of people, it is rare to be a media mod user, so this may be an upgrade that really makes sense for you, just to make your camera much more convenient, maybe a bit more robust, and of course usable in a few scenarios where you may not have been able to use it before. Much bigger deal for nearly everyone is magnetic mounting. So if you're used to the Insta360 ecosystem or the DJI ecosystem, they have had magnetic mounts for a few generations, and they're fantastic. It makes working with their cameras so superior in everyday use to the GoPro, because you can take it on and off mounts as needed quite quickly while maintaining an incredibly sturdy mounting. You never have to worry about it actually falling off. I use the Insta360 X3. I use the Insta360 Go 3. I'm getting the DJI Pocket 3. All these have all these magnetic mounting options that really make them powerful and useful and just fast. GoPro, with their traditional, very, very, very sturdy mounting fingers, takes a long time. Sometimes even requires tools to get them on and off. And if you're trying to do fast changes, you're trying to do a lot of, oh, I got to switch batteries or whatever, especially with the media mod where you have a lot of problems. Now, I'm sure the media mod is not going to be able to use the magnetic mount. We don't know that for sure yet, but the expectation is probably that that's going to be a problem. But for normal everyday mounting, it means your GoPro can go on and off of different devices, or different mounting points very, very quickly. This means easier to charge, easier to swap batteries, easier to make lens changes, to make media changes, to do whatever you need to do. Switch where it's mounted. I'm often mounting in a car and then going to a selfie stick. Those are things that take a long time. Like, honestly, it can take me a minute to do a change. When I'm out in the field, I'm doing all kinds of things, and I'm like holding things and trying to get the screws loose. It really does impact us as GoPro users. So while this may sound like a minor thing, and for you it might be, but for average GoPro users, I think this is a slam dunk. This is something people have been demanding. People have been upset that they haven't had this option for the last couple generations. And so this is really answering that. And we're not giving up the mounting fingers. Awesome. We're not giving up the mounting screw. Awesome. So triple mount options built into the GoPro 13. Loving that. I'm going to be going to magnetic mount for everything. I don't do things where I need the fingers. Like this just always is going to be the way to go for me. Now, this next one is one I personally have been really looking for. I do a lot of beautiful, really bright, okay, so this is not necessarily the best light right here today. This is what I had to work with in the morning on the balcony in my Airbnb. But in many cases, I'm doing shots of countries. I'm walking around in beautiful scenery, in neighborhoods and in fields, and I really want to show that off as much as possible. And one of the things that I've been lacking with the GoPros in the past versus like using my cell phone is HLG output. With HLG, I'm able to output a larger color space, brighter range, so that when you're on an HLG enabled device such as a 4K TV or a good quality computer monitor or a cell phone, most of them handle HLG, they're going to give you a wider dynamic range on your images, and the images are just going to appear brighter and look better than they do when you have a smaller dynamic range. And so this is something when I'm shooting things with, say, my cell phone, I get this HLG range. I work really hard to maintain it, and it's very noticeable when I'm watching the footage. When I go to the GoPro, it looks amazing, but it doesn't have the extra bright brights, the extra dark darks. With the GoPro 13, we're getting HLG, and so the GoPro is going to be able to output its amazing image at that larger dynamic range. And of course, it's retaining the 10-bit color option that it has had for the last 2 generations, I believe. So we're going to get a really noticeable upgrade in image quality for average users. This is something that just normal everyday videographers are going to be able to take advantage of with just a click. You're going to notice this. If it's not something you've ever investigated, if you've never worked with HLG footage, you may not realize just how much better your videos can look by just enabling that. And so I'm super excited about this. I've been looking for this because I do just the type of footage that I do. This is going to be something that really matters when you're watching. A lot of my audience watch on big TVs and they want to see beautiful. Everything's in 4K. I rarely zoom in at all. I want to maintain the most beautifully crisp images I possibly can. The GoPro is so good at that. This takes it to really the level that I think it should be. Built-in mics, of course, are getting regular upgrades, but importantly, there's an upgraded auto-tune, and that sounds funny, an auto-tuning for audio option. So you can tell it to just do regular audio, or you can do voice detection. So it's actually going to filter for voice. Already wind reduction on the GoPro is amazing, but taking it to another level where it does some of that computational audio cleanup the way that, for example, Final Cut Pro does with voice isolation. Having that built into the camera for a lot of people don't have Final Cut Pro or other tools that are able to do that, or they don't know how to do that, or they don't want to go through that extra editing step. This is going to allow the camera to clean up that audio on recording. Now, we haven't seen how well it works yet, so be very interested to see that, but this is a generally known technology that is relatively rare, relatively difficult to execute, but GoPro's got, obviously they can do in-camera software upgrades as they improve the algorithm over time, but this is potentially a really big upgrade that's going to make the camera just so much more run and gun capable for a lot of users. For vloggers like me, this is a big one. I think we're going to use this a lot. Of course, I have tools for this already, so we'll see if this ends up being as useful for people like me as it seems, but it may easily be the difference between needing to use the media mod most of the time and not having to. I'm going to do a lot of tests with that once we have that, because with the media mod, we have the dead cat, we have a much bigger microphone. It is a directional shotgun, and so it is a very different mic, and the media mod mic is amazing. It is so absolutely fantastic. It's one of the features that people don't really talk about enough. In many cases, I resort to using the GoPro for audio, even if I'm recording with a different camera, because it just consistently delivers such a good audio experience that I'm then able to really work well with like Final Cut Pro and clean up even more. But I could skip that in almost all cases and sound really good. So that's something that GoPro's been very good at, is their microphones. How they're going to take this to the next level, we're really looking to see. But that voice isolation feature just built into the camera, along with their wind reduction and just the general upgrades, has a lot of potential. And finally, the last thing is, when we went from the GoPro 11 to the 12, the big feature was the removing of GPS, because the GPS was basically always on. It was taking up space inside the camera, and people weren't using it very much. In the GoPro 13, GPS is back. A lot of people did complain about that. Who knew anyone was using it? I certainly did not know. I like the idea that there's GPS data put on my stuff because I'm a travel and relocation vlogger. I want to be able to walk around places. I would love my camera to automatically generate maps of where I go. Right now, it has not been able to do that. The GoPro 13 has the GPS back in, so we'll see what tools become available or are going to be built in to allow you to do interesting things with that. But it allows you to tell things like speed, direction, altitude, and then, build a map from that. So I'd love to see amazing tools that make that really robust and interesting. No one knows if that's going to be coming. Some tools are out there. They're not free. Generally, they're very difficult to use. So we'll see. Right. This one I'm reserved on, but it is interesting that the GPS functionality is coming back in the 13. So if that's something that kept you from moving to the 12 in the past, you are really looking for that information, that is returned, and I think makes the GoPro just a little bit more competitive. I certainly am happy with my 12. I don't notice the lack of GPS. I don't think most people will, but there is a segment of the user base for sure that found that incredibly important. It's how you build overlays with live data. Otherwise, you're just guessing at that stuff, but the GoPro is able to put a lot of that data into the video itself. Very, very cool features if it's something you're going to use. So that is why I'm excited about the GoPro 13. I'm absolutely getting mine as soon as I'm able. I live in Latin America. I ship from the United States, so I don't always get things on day one, and I'm certainly not a reviewer. GoPro does not send me anything, so I'm not on the early list or anything, but I am a regular buyer up early, and I'm a subscriber, so that does give me a little bit of priority and a little bit of cost saving. So as soon as I'm able to get one in my hands, I will review it for you in person and give you the physical rundown, and can compare it to the 12 and the 11 and the 9, all of which I use on a regular basis. My 9 is nearly dead. It's not working too well at this point, but my 11 and 12 work pretty well most of the time, so we'll do a comparison and show you how that series of processors and image sensors have held up as they improve software and other features. Thanks for joining me. See you all next time.